It.
All right, we got everybody.
The entire gang's here,
Love
baby.
it.
Awesome. All right, so I guess I'm just going to start out. This is episode 2, the mental side of performance, with Matt and I as hosts. And we got guests today. We have our North Star friends, Sean and Sebastian. So why don't you guys just go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, thank y'all for having us. I'm Sean, and just happy to be here. I'm co-founder and director of Mental Performance with North Star, and just excited to answer some questions and see what sort of knowledge we can impart on the world.
Nice.
Yeah, my name is Sebastian. I'm the co-founder and CEO of North Star.
Love it.
Yeah, we're super pumped to have you guys. Yeah, we've talked a lot about identity, physical performance, and we're getting into the mental side with you guys, and we're excited to have y'all. Could you guys give us just an insight into what mindset therapy really is?
Yeah, so we call it mental performance coaching. There's a lot of different ways to sort of say it. Sports psychology, mindset therapy. It's all valid. But pretty much most athletes would agree that 100% of their time is spent training physically, whereas they would also agree that at least 50 to 90 at least percent of the sport is mental. However, that sort of training is not widely available. So what we do is we work directly with individuals and teams, athletes and performers to build mental skills to help them access their best and access their highest potential when there's pressure, when the moment matters most. Um, so that's kind of the simple answer, I suppose, if that's simple.
Awesome.
For a not so simple topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um. All right. Yeah. You want to just jump on into the
Yeah,
questions?
yeah. So, like mental demands of college athletes, and Kylan can touch on this probably personally even more so. I'm a little removed to my end, but what are the biggest things that collegiate athletes are dealing with? I mean, there's so much more than when I was. I mean, social media, NIL, school, social life, than the actual sport itself. But in y'all's opinions, Kylan, I guess you go first. What's the biggest thing that you guys see to be a struggle mentally for athletes, especially in college?
I mean, I think not. I think like I don't know how the better way to say this, but like not getting into your head, especially in the sport aspect. So many people can spiral by one like negative thought or one bad turn or one thing like that, and you just spiral into a downhill. So I think getting out of that hole that you dig yourself is probably the biggest for my old teammates and just like people I know. It's just getting out of that hole is the hardest thing. And then obviously, yes, we have the pressures of social media and NIL and all this stuff, and especially in gymnastics, a very heavy body image sport. But it's more about the self talk going on in your head that I think really kills most athletes.
Makes
Yeah,
complete sense.
I'll build on that. Like, college athletes are very unique because they're balancing so much. Obviously, these kind of front end things like school, social life, NIL, future career uncertainty, whether or not you might go pro, whatever the sport is. But also, kind of more abstract or high level, they're balancing performance, identity, and also and uncertainty all at once, which at that age can be just a lot and can be high cognitive load, can sort of set you into a state of like subconscious dysregulation, which makes handling these things like not super easy. And that's where you kind of mentioned the self-talk and whatnot. Like it's easier to get in your head and it's easier to be or rather to like display neurotic tendencies, if you will, when all of that is kind of being balanced.
That's crazy. Now, what's the one that you guys think is like the biggest struggle? I mean, you just laid on a bunch of tough ones, both of you did, but which one would you guys say is like, man, that's just really hard for athletes nowadays that you guys actually see?
Is this from me or Kylan?
That's
I
for
guess
you.
both.
um, for me, with college people, I would say college athletes, I would say uncertainty, and with that comes like lack of ability to self-regulate. Now, I'll try to dumb that down a little bit. Like when you don't know how things are going to go and you want to go pro, for example. I'm thinking of like a college baseball guy I'm working with right now. And that like kind of I need to do really well because I don't know how my future is going to look. Has him approach the plate with that kind of mindset where it's like I need this to go well, and if you know baseball is kind of the game of failure, you're kind of holding on to an uncontrollable outcome. It's literally not completely within your control, and putting all of your success and like your focus on that, and when that outcome doesn't go your way, that hits a lot harder and is harder to deal with mentally.
Yeah. I agree with that too. And I think, like I said, with the getting in your head stuff, I see a lot too of like almost, and this is a part of getting in your head, but like psyching yourself out, especially when it gets into competitions. And this is something that I dealt with too, was that I was like, they always say trust your training and all this stuff, but then you psych yourself out and you're like, do I really trust my training? Like, can I really actually do this? Like, I'm probably gonna fall doing this, but like, what if I don't? And like, you can get like so just caught up in it. And that's why I mean, I started doing mental performance training from, I think I was like 8 years old, probably I started, and it was so important to me. But I still struggled so badly in college with like second guessing myself and all that stuff, and it comes with time, and I still do it in like my professional job now. um but it's more of like I have the tools, I'm equipped, like it's you have the tools and you're equipped with them, you just have to actually use them and put them into play,
Mhm.
which I also think is very challenging for athletes.
Yeah, when they're sorry to interrupt if anyone was about to speak, but you're touching on a really important point is where like when there is pressure, when there is this kind of when there's this context that what you're doing is important and you're wondering if you have the stuff for it, what is kind of going on mentally is essentially a bottleneck from that information, like a mental bottleneck. Because usually, if we're speaking, like I tell my clients all the time, like usually you know what to do. Like it sounds like you know kind of where to go mentally. It's just in the moment, it's a lot harder to access. So that's why like self-regulation is so important. Being able to calm down and being able to talk to yourself in a way that kind of keeps you grounded will help you actually remember, yeah, like I have trained super hard for this. I do have like enough to show up for at least whatever I can do. And even if what I have isn't good enough, I got to go execute anyway. Whatever it is, if you can rationalize it, it's a lot easier to do so when you're in kind of that like more relaxed state.
That
Agreed.
makes sense. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I hear this about Kylan's gonna laugh while as I make another Kobe quote, but Kobe, it's always quoting about how he prepared so much mentally that like he never thought that like he was always prepared, which I can't imagine every athlete can get to that level.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess when it comes to pressure, identity, burnout, I mean pressure. What is the most pressure that athletes are dealing with nowadays? From this to piggyback off of all of this.
um from what I've seen and what I know, I mean, I've been removed from it for like about a year, but I think the pressures of just performing. Like as simple as that, it's just going out there and doing what you're supposed to do. Like last year, our coaches were so heavy on just like trust your training, go out and do what you know how to do, like no more, no less. And we crumbled under that pressure. Even though it wasn't really a lot of pressure, it was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much riding on this, and we crumbled. And this year, you can see the Clemson team doing incredible, almost made it to nationals last weekend. And it just looks like they're competing so much freely than we were. And I don't know if it's no fault of the coaches or anything like that, but it's more of just like we weren't able to get out of our heads and be able to compete freely, and they are, which has been so beautiful to watch. So I think um like almost like this invisible like cage or shield or however you want to say it, is holding some people back a lot. And I get people who like come to me, like I recently had a girl DM me and ask me like, hey, how do I recover from like a bad turn or a bad meet or a bad this? And like it just sticks with you for so long if you don't know how to throw it away and just move on. And I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody about this yesterday too. It's like you can get so stuck in that, and then obviously, I mean, social media and that stuff, that's more of like a mental health thing that people are really struggling with, but it's still so prominent and completely affects your performance. And just how you are mentally ready, obviously. And NIL is big as well in that. But I think it's more of like the mental health piece, social media, comparison, huge in college athletics.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
there's
wild.
a. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
No,
I
ahead,
I'm
think
not
there's
Sebastian.
a.
good.
Yeah, this is like the news where it's like, yeah, and it's like a 10 second delay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think there's a beautiful common thread in all of the different sort of symptoms that we've tried to identify here so far, right? Whether it's NIL, coming back from injury, the pressure to perform, the yips, all of these struggles that the athletes that we both work with experience are downstream symptoms of one central skill. And we talk about a lot of different skills from confidence to motivation to focus to composure. But at the end of the day, all of those are still just a result of one thing, and that's the ability to be aware and to influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions. So when Kylan refers to this sort of like almost invisible wall. It's like, how come sometimes when I'm working really hard and trying to do the thing that I know how to do, I just can't do it when I want to do it? And Sean referred to it before. It's like, have you ever heard of somebody choking, right? All of these moments where they just can't quite do the thing that they know how to do best. There's literally a bottleneck. You're choking off access to all the skills that you built up in practice. What we want to do with mental performance is build skills to help you open up that choke so that the skills can flow from practice to performance. That's the simplest way we could describe what we do. But point being is that at the end of the day, every single thing that we have identified thus far really comes down to just do you know and can you influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions, which both affects the mental and the physical.
Yeah, I
That's
like that
awesome.
what you said with the
Mhm.
can you influence your thoughts, feeling, and actions? That's huge, Jim.
Mhm. That's like the core. If you were to ask me, like, what is mental performance, that would probably be the answer. Is like the awareness and the ability to influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So yeah, well said.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, do you guys find that that's almost like affects the identity to the athletes when they're going ahead and getting into this like inability to have a strong mental aspect to that?
Like it negatively affects their view of themselves that they don't have this ability. Is that what you mean?
Because yeah, because they're already tying their identity to their sport, and they begin to almost fail or struggle, or like I think of a couple of baseball players I've had where they just can't do what they practiced or they could do 2 years ago or whatever. But when I watch them and talk to them, it's almost like their whole identity has shifted to the sport.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you find that's oftentimes when you've been in a sport your whole life and you've gotten like that good into that level, your identity is pretty tied to it. And that is something we obviously address, trying to make your identity, more holistic as a person. And usually, hey, I am a person who plays this sport rather than like I am a baseball player, just like here and like first and foremost, whatever, you know what I mean. So the reason being, obviously, if there's bad performances and bad outcomes, instead of I played bad today, it's I am bad, and like I am a bad baseball player. And if all of your identity as a baseball player and you're a bad one, according to your own narrative, um, it's not usually the most healthy thing for an identity. So trying to sort of compartmentalize the parts of you and really be a holistic human being is definitely like a central core focus of our work.
That's awesome. Um, Kyle, did you want to add anything to that identity shift to sports, or I think Sean hit it pretty well.
Yeah, he got the degree in it.
So one thing I deal with a lot. So a lot of times, I mean, and I'm just going to list a couple of things. Is burnout. When I enter into the world as a PT, for a lot of these athletes, a lot of them are already burnt out. Chronic muscle pain, joint pain, decreased interest in their sport, decreased fatigue, decreased sports performance, recovery times. A lot of times, it's already too late. Some of my people are in that preventative world. But I guess what does burnout look like when they come to you guys? I'm
Well,
sure
how
that
about
Kyler
just
can touch on that personally.
let's get a definition of what's
Yeah.
even going on. with burnout. And I'd love to hear, from Kylan about a more athletic perspective, or from either of you guys. Like, yeah, what is burnout?
I think burnout is doing like I lived the same day for 4 years. Like I woke up. I sometimes the class and gym schedule would flip. So I either woke up and went to gym and then went to class and then came home, or I woke up, went to class and then gym and then came home and did weights. And like I lived the same day for 4 years total. And it was like burnout for me was, how am I going to get out of bed and live the same day over again every single time? Because you have your morning routines, you do that stays the same. Then you go to practice, then you go to weights, then you go to class. You mean your classes sometimes switch depending on the day, but then you go home, you do homework, you shower, you eat, you go to bed. Like it's the same thing every single day, and there's not much room for like fluctuation or change. Um, and so for me, burnout was just like, one, I didn't love the sport. Two, I was so tired of doing the same thing every day. Like I get bored really easily, and I was probably bored within like the first month. Not because of like what I was doing, but it was just like there was no variety. And like that's good for me now. Now I'm like the working world again. There's like less variety through my day, but like burning out, it was just like you didn't want to do anything. It was more of like questioning, like, should I still do it? I have no motivation to do this. Why did I like this sport in the first place? That kind of stuff was kind of like the most prominent. And every student athlete goes through that. I mean, every student athlete lives the same day for 4 years until you're done with the sport. So,
Not
How do
only
you
does
not burn out?
yeah, right. And not only is it every student athlete, it's everybody in corporate America. It's
yeah. Yeah,
every,
that's
it's
it.
every, academic student. Most of us feel like there's a gap in between the days that we want to have and the days that we have to have. And that might be the simplest way to think about burnout. The
Mhm.
discomfort between the experience of life that I want to have and the one that I'm having. So obviously, we can't overnight create the perfect life that we want. It takes a long time to move the external world in alignment with how we hope it is, whether that's the playing time that we want, the injury that we want to go away. Those things take time. So, what we help people do is we're not focused on controlling the external world. When we face a difference between what we want out there and how we feel in here, we want to focus on the internal world. So, you alluded to it, Kylan, perfectly, which is, first of all, why do I do this? Can I clarify that? We use exercises like value sorts, like resonance, which is based in self determination theory, ways for people to better, more intimately think and feel about why they do what they do, which allows them to make a connection between the way that the day is now and the way that I want it to be, increasing a sense of purpose. So it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing this again, but I'm not hitting my head against the wall. That's not the type of repetition that I'm doing. I'm stacking bricks. I'm building a foundation. That's the type of repetition that I'm doing. The difference
Yeah.
between going insane and stacking bricks is strong sense of purpose. So that's one. But then two, and this is so under talked about, what about the physical side of it? And that's something that you guys understand better than anybody. There are physiological consequences to being burnt out. It's not just your thoughts and feelings that suffer. It's also all of a sudden your immune system's flaring up. Now your joints hurt. Now you have inflammation across the board. So we can handle the big picture. Why do we do this? Solve for purpose. That's going to help. But we also have to handle the immediate now. And at least from the mental side, the way that we do that is we're training focus, we're training attention. Usually that's through meditation, mindfulness, some other way to make sure that when we get distracted by, oh man, I don't know if this is, really what I want to do, that we turn into somebody who's better at talking to ourselves as opposed to listening to ourselves. Um, that being said, we could do all of that. And if we don't have somebody good helping us with the physical side to get right, to lower inflammation, to increase mobility, to move the built up emotion through our fascia, um, then the mental side is only half of it. So
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so important for people like us to work in conjunction to help people move through burnout by identifying a sense of purpose, but also by keeping their body loose and open and helping them let go of the things that distract from their purpose in the first
Literally
place.
moving through burnout, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to say that sport is 90% mental and 10% actually what the sport is.
Mhm. And how much of the
100%.
training would you say was mental?
How much what?
What percentage of your training would you say is mental then?
God, yeah, I mean, what especially once you get to college, you have all your skills. It's like 99% mental because you know how to do everything. Now you just gotta actually like want to do it and also like figure out like just have the motivation and every like all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of influence your thoughts and feelings to get there, to commit the actions.
Thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Yeah, TFAs, baby. The good old TFAs.
Do you guys almost always see when you're working with, let's say, like an athlete who has a good strength coach, good PT, good athletic trainer, that their mental is getting better when they're doing that, or is it not as closely tied from y'all's end on that aspect? I mean, I definitely know I see people get better on the PT side if they have a psychologist or somebody helping their mindset therapy. But I guess what do you guys see?
Like, just to clarify, if we're like if they're working with a mental performance coach, like working with us, are their physical processes going better?
Yeah, like that burnout aspect where let's say they are burnt out and we're seeing the physical side, they're coming to someone like Kylan or I, or they're from Kylan's current state, not when she was an athlete. Are you guys seeing that improve quicker for them like we see on my end of it, or no?
Yeah. So to answer, I would assume because I don't have the baseline for the people I don't work with. But yeah, so for example, we've seen a lot of success in reconnecting with the purpose of the sport because with burnout, like burnout happens a lot when effort stays high, but like clarity of meaning and like the reason and the purpose is kind of faded and cloudy, and that's like when the enjoyment starts to drop. So um alongside like especially with like baseball for example, like if you're starting to feel burned out, if you feel like your swing is like getting stale, people think that it's like, oh, like it's time to tinker, it's time to like switch things up. And really what we have found is by reconnecting with the reason and then like kind of reframing the way that you're going about your day to day, as Sebastian kind of alluded to as well, kind of stacking wins and each day kind of being development and being able to sort of frame how you're seeing it differently. That is when we kind of find those results to be good. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. Kylan, do you see now that you're on this side of it, have you noticed that like exactly what he's talking about, where it's just like it's almost easier for your athletes to get
Yeah.
better?
Yeah, and I think even like not even with my athletes, more with like the other stuff that I do with like the neuro side of things. I mean, I never knew Sean before he found mental performance. Well, I mean, I kind of did, but like not well enough.
not really. Yeah.
Yeah, not well enough. But
Some
he comes
guy.
in every day with like a positive attitude. He's ready to work, like all these things. And especially people with like newer injuries or stuff like that, they come in not as ready to work or not as positive and not as like okay, like obviously it's a lot to process what happens. So almost like it's just it's always when somebody knows no matter what, even if it's like an ankle injury you're working through or something that has completely changed your life, knowing that the mental game of it is 90% of what you're doing is huge for them to just know internally and then also to see it in their performance and how they kind of take on life and take on the day, really.
Yeah, I think every athlete needs someone for their mindset, strength conditioning, someone on their movement. I like to
Yeah.
selfishly think it needs to be someone like me, but not always. um, so I guess when we're looking at this, like, how does somebody, when someone like first meets you, how do you, what are you first trying to understand? Like, are you trying to, like, for me, when I see someone, I'm trying to get to the root cause. I'm trying to figure out, why are you in pain? Why are you moving funny? For you guys, like, what are you guys looking at?
That's like it's a loaded question, but I'll do my best, and I mean Sebastian obviously fill in whatever I leave out. But so the way I do about it is like you kind of start to look at like what is going on in the here and now. Um, so a lot of times it's I'll give some examples because I have a tendency to get really abstract, but let's say like you're getting really I'm working with a lot of baseball players lately. We're gonna stick with baseball. Let's say you're getting
You and
like
me
really
both.
nervous. Yeah, let's go. Let's say you're getting really nervous before like an at bat, and you're unable, like when there's bases loaded or whatever it is, you start to speed up. You start to try to force and like chase pitches that you know you should wait to see a little bit longer. A lot of times you kind of observe like what they're worried about, what how it makes them feel, like both mentally and physically. A lot of times there's a lot to tell from like the reactions that your body gets as to like what is going on in your nervous system. And through like processing that and talking about it, we we're usually able to kind of not diagnose but identify really like the source of where the worry is coming from, often like from not knowing yourself well enough or not having a clear enough like vision as to why you're doing the activity that you're doing. Um, but in mental performance, a lot of times it's a proactive approach, so like we're not really getting a
Love
whole
that.
lot of people like from therapy and like being kind of like, oh, I have this issue that I need to solve. It's people kind of seeing, hey, I need to be mentally strong for the pressure that I'm about to deal with, and kind of teaching the skills for that. So there's a little bit of both. I don't know if that answers your question very well or if it was like very coherent at all, but
No,
but
no, it
yeah.
was perfect. Well, I imagine gymnastics, baseball, golf. Those are some of the like the big ones that you guys probably deal with.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, we work with a really variety, a lot of different athletes. We have rock climbers, uh,
Interesting.
lacrosse play.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A really mental sport. Um, really, really mental sport. But yeah, golf, baseball, football, MMA, um, the whole nine, really.
Yeah.
And just like you see certain injuries or certain imbalances that are specific to certain sports, we see that on the mental side too. So I
Yeah.
imagine like golfers, they have the back is tough or the hips are tight. With pitchers, obviously we have shoulders and elbows. When it comes to baseball, it's a game where you need a lot of focus because there's a lot of downtime. So people tend to have a hard time locking back in and knowing when to take a break and not missing reps. Or in golf, it's a game that, yeah, you mainly, if you throw out your back, you're kind of screwed, right? Well, it's also if you can't let go of what happened on the last hole before the next one comes up, you're also screwed. So there's specific mental issues that you see to specific sports. Um, but I assume also, like on your side of things, there's general strengthening and general prevention that you can do to help anybody, no matter what the sport is. Everybody's got to be mobile. Everybody's got to be strong and uh, resilient. And so there's things that we like to do for everybody. But there's also specifics that we make sure to connect you with a coach that knows your sport because they've seen the Tommy Johns on the mental side.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. So I guess, Calvin, I guess for you first, in terms of, especially since Calvin's become such a huge advocate and is, still is a high level athlete, snowboarder. Um,
Right. Right.
She's the best.
where would you like to see more athletes get it right and understand about mindset therapy?
I think the first thing that is out there, like I think like people know it, but they don't ever try it unless like you go to college. Like even in college, there were a few like mandatory things we had to do, but nothing was ever mandatory. But like giving it a chance because I was always very skeptical of stuff like that. I'd be like, nah, I could do it myself. Like I can't do it myself. So giving it a chance and actually using the resources you have out to, like that your school gives you, especially those for college athletes. Um, but also just like doing your own research on it, looking some like if you can't afford to go see one, if you're not like in college and it's not given to you, stuff like that, do your own research on it, talk to somebody, like reach out to, I'm sure anybody could answer an Instagram DM, reach out to our star, reach out to me, like that kind of stuff. I think that's where I see the biggest struggle is a lot of people just don't know that it's out there and they don't know that it can be super helpful. And then also, actually, yeah, that's all I had. was just really to like look into it, because if I got really lucky growing up that I had it. We had it every 2 weeks from 8 to 18. Like for 10 years, I had it every 2 weeks. And I got so lucky with that. But even then, I had it 10 years. I had all the tools in my toolbox. I just didn't use them when I needed to. And that's something that people really need to learn as well. I guess this is another point too, but using the tools in your toolbox that you have and trying to like really make the most of, when you're an athlete.
Love that.
Mhm.
Do you guys have anything you guys want to add to that?
If you're curious, reach out. Doesn't have to be the end of the world. Doesn't have to be, what your whole life's about. But we got something for everybody. So if
Mhm.
you want to think, feel, or do better when it matters the most, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, no, just
Yeah.
to resound it, like we're our DMs are open. We love interacting with people. So like if you
Yeah.
are just like trying to shoot a question off to somebody who knows a little bit, feel free.
Yeah.
If you guys had to pick the most important mental skill, what would you guys say it
Um,
is?
I want to hear what you have to say, Sean.
I mean,
I,
textbook answer. I mean, God, that's so freaking hard. But like, I'd say my favorite one is cognitive reframing. Now, what that means is sorry. Also, that I'm holding my phone now. I had to charge it because it was like 10%. Um, it's kind of like a mixture of like zooming out and gaining perspective as well as like in conjunction with self-talk, so like framing bad situation in a good light, so kind of seeing like, all right, I made a mistake, what can I learn from it, why is this a good thing, why is this injury potentially a helpful thing, trying to like kind of come at things from a tone of curiosity rather than like immediate judgment, um, and seeing things in a more helpful and productive way. So I guess if we were to think like a more cardinal, like tangible mental skill, self-talk.
Love
yeah, I
it.
think my favorite way to influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions is some kind of guided audio session. So some people do meditation, some people do breath work. What we're doing for our clients is developing custom audio sessions with a mix of different practices from visualization to breath work to meditation to NSDR, whatever the kind of recipe of different psychological ingredients that helps them the most. You're making a 10-minute audio that they can pop their headphones in. Maybe this is to get them ready to train, get them ready to perform, help them fall asleep. Or even I have one fighter that listens to an audio session before he does PT, because that mind body connection can dictate how deep into the muscle are you able to focus and let go. I know that, whenever I've been in the gym with friends, sometimes there's some exercises that it's hard to feel, right? Like lat pull downs. A lot of people use their arms more than their lats. And if you put your hand right on your lat as you do it, you increase that mind muscle connection and you get more hypertrophy in that muscle. Using an audio session, we call them sounds, is like creating that connection between the mind and whatever part of the body you're working on, but before the session, so you're locked in for the whole time. So that's something we develop for our clients, and we're looking to publish some of these things that have been working for other people, so that anybody can use them on the North Star app, which should be on the App Store this summer. So if you guys have
Nice
clients and they're
little
like, "Hey,
plug in there.
yeah,"
Yeah, you gotta get it at some point,
like certainly there are specific like obstacles that you see people deal with a lot, whether it's in a specific sport or specific age group or whatever. If you come to us and say, hey, like these guys could really use help with regaining confidence in the ACL, we'll make the sound for you and then they can use it. And that's something you can do for 10-15 bucks a month. It doesn't have to cost what our clients actually pay us.
Yeah.
Just the two things there. You allowed me to justify my talking to myself, and you also just share that you're a great businessman.
That's why he's the CEO, baby.
Sebastian is very good at getting that little come to North Star.
That's what,
But that's perfect. It's what we're here for. I think my last thing too is just like the biggest thing, especially for gymnastics, is learning how to let go. So if you can learn how to let go of something, like Sebastian said before, like if you can't let go of the hole before your next hole, you're screwed. So I think for me, that's been I mean, I'm not very good at it right now, but like just learning how to actually do that as an athlete is going to be that and self-talk are going to completely change the game for you.
Mhm. Yeah, can I give you like 20 more answers, or do we have time for
No.
that?
When I come to Denver eventually.
There you go.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome or at least on my end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank y'all
Thank you
so
guys
much.
so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for having us.
Of course. All right, everybody, we will see you in 2 weeks with another guest. Say thank you to our first guests.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
guys.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all.